Welcome to our channel, Bravo News. Joe Giudice's confession about Teresa will leave you speechless. A call that changed everything. The evening sun set over the Bahamas, painting the horizon in shades of orange and gold. Joe Giudice sat on the balcony of his small rental villa, holding his phone tightly, his knuckles pale against the metal railing. For weeks, rumors about his possible reconciliation with Teresa Giudice, his ex-wife and the fiery star of the Real Housewives of New Jersey, had been swirling across tabloids and Bravo fan pages. But tonight, Joe had decided it was time to tell his side of the story. The phone rang only once before Teresa picked up. "Joe?" she said softly, her voice a mixture of caution and curiosity. "Tree, we need to talk," Joe replied, using her old nickname, something he hadn't called her in years. There was silence on the line, and then a sharp inhale. Teresa knew Joe well enough to sense when he was about to drop a bombshell. Teresa's new life. Teresa Giudice wasn't the same woman Joe had left behind years ago. After Joe's deportation to Italy following his prison sentence, Teresa had rebuilt her life from the ground up. She had found love again with Luis Ruelas, married him in a lavish Bravo televised wedding, and seemed finally at peace. But under the glamorous surface, cracks had begun to show. Fans noticed Teresa's strange smiles in interviews. Rumors of marital trouble with Luis had been making their rounds online, and insiders claimed that Teresa had been texting Joe more often than anyone knew. When she received Joe's unexpected call that night, her heart pounded, not with fear, but with confusion. "Joe, what's going on?" she asked, steadying her voice. Joe hesitated, and then said the words she never thought she'd hear again. "Tree, I want to come back. To Jersey. To you." Teresa froze. "Come back? Joe, you know you're not even allowed in the U.S., she said, half whispering, half yelling. Joe leaned back, sipping his whiskey, letting the silence drag. Then he dropped the first part of his shocking confession. "I found a way. My lawyer's been working on it for months. I might be getting my green card reinstated. But there's more you need to know. About us. About what really happened before the divorce." Teresa's throat got dry. For years, she'd believed their breakup was inevitable. The distance, the scandals, the trust issues. But Joe's tone was different now. It carried weight. It carried secrets. "What are you talking about, Joe?" Teresa whispered, suddenly feeling a chill despite the warm Jersey night. "There's something I never told you. Back when we were fighting, back when everything fell apart, someone set us up. Bravo's biggest cover-up. According to Joe, there was more to their infamous legal troubles than anyone knew. He claimed that during their court battles, certain Bravo producers had manipulated events behind the scenes, encouraging drama, twisting narratives, and even planting financial tips to escalate the Giudice's downfall for ratings. Teresa was stunned. "Joe, are you saying Bravo ruined us?" she asked, clutching her chest. "They didn't just ruin us," Joe said bitterly. "They used us. And I have proof." Joe revealed he'd saved a stash of emails and recorded calls from the height of the chaos. Evidence showing how certain producers allegedly knew the Giudices were being pushed into financial disaster but turned a blind eye to keep RHONJ explosive. Teresa's head spun. Her Bravo loyalty had always run deep, but if Joe was right, it meant her entire public image, her entire family's pain, had been a storyline orchestrated for profit. And Joe wasn't finished. "Tree," he said carefully, "there's something else about Luis." Teresa's grip tightened around the phone. "Don't bring Luis into this, Joe," she warned, her voice shaky. But Joe's tone was steady, deadly serious. You need to know what I found out. Louis isn't who you think he is. Joe claimed he had hired a private investigator in Florida after hearing whispers from old business associates. Allegedly, Louis had been hiding financial troubles, secret debts, and ongoing lawsuits, none of which Teresa knew about. Tree, he's not protecting you. He's protecting himself. Teresa's world tilted. She felt her chest tighten, memories flashing of Louis's promises, their wedding, their dreams. Could Joe be lying, or was this another Bravo-fueled twist, her life turned upside down on camera again? Family at war. The next day, Teresa called her brother, Joe Borga, to confide in him. But instead of sympathy, she was met with fire. Teresa, I told you about Louis from the start, but you never listen. And now Joe Giudice wants back in your life? Forget it. This is going to blow up our whole family again. And blow up it did. Within days, Bravo cameras were rolling. Melissa Gorga got involved, Louis confronted Joe Giudice via FaceTime, and tensions reached a boiling point. This wasn't just a family feud anymore. This was the makings of RHONJ's most explosive season yet. But behind the chaos, Teresa couldn't ignore one thing. Joe Giudice sounded sincere. The final confession. 2 weeks later, Teresa flew to the Bahamas to meet Joe face-to-face. He was waiting for her on the same balcony where he'd made the call, holding a folder of documents, the proof he'd promised. Emails, legal filings, bank records, everything. Tree, I never stopped loving you, Joe admitted, his voice cracking. I messed up, I know that, but I can fix this, if you let me. Teresa's heart pounded. The cameras weren't there. There was no Bravo script. It was just them. For the first time in years, Teresa saw the man she'd fallen in love with. Flawed, yes, but fighting for her, for their family, for redemption. But one thing haunted her. Was Joe telling the truth or setting her up for another fall? To be continued. Teresa returned to New Jersey torn between two lives, the stable public marriage with Louis or the unfinished, raw love story with Joe. And just as she landed, Page 6 dropped a bombshell. Exclusive. Joe Giudice files petition for U.S. re-entry amid secret reunion talks with Teresa. Within minutes, Bravo issued a cryptic teaser. The Giudice family faces its most shocking season yet. Loyalty will be tested, secrets will be exposed, and nothing will ever be the same. The stage was set, and the world was watching. When secrets collide. 2 weeks had passed since Teresa returned from the Bahamas. Every night she lay awake, replaying Joe's confession in her head, the supposed Bravo cover-up, Louis's hidden debts, and Joe's declaration of love. She wanted to dismiss it all as another one of Joe's impulsive attempts to win her back. But deep down, something felt off. And then, it happened. At 7:42 a.m., Teresa's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Check your email. You need to see this before Bravo buries it. Heart pounding, she opened her laptop and clicked the link. Inside was a confidential Bravo production memo, and what she read left her speechless. The producer leak. The leaked memo contained a shocking revelation. For months, Bravo executives had been tracking Joe Giudice's movements in the Bahamas, secretly planning to fly him back for a surprise on-camera confrontation with Teresa and Louis during RHONJ filming. But that wasn't the worst part. The memo also confirmed that Louis knew about it all along. He'd been negotiating with Bravo to make Joe's return part of the storyline. Teresa felt sick. Louis hadn't told her anything. While she had been losing sleep, drowning in confusion, Louis had been working behind the scenes to control the narrative, and her. She slammed the laptop shut, her chest tightening as if the walls around her were collapsing. The Louis Ruella showdown. That night, Teresa confronted Louis in their New Jersey mansion. "Why didn't you tell me about Bravo's plan?" she demanded, holding up her phone. Louis didn't flinch. "Because you overreact, Teresa. I'm trying to protect us. Do you think Joe's back because he loves you? He wants his 15 minutes again." Teresa's eyes burned with tears, but Louis's voice kept rising. "You think Joe cares about you? No, Teresa. He cares about the cameras, the fame, the paycheck. I did what I had to do to keep you safe from him and from Bravo." But Teresa wasn't convinced. "Safe? Or controlled?" she whispered, trembling. For the first time since their wedding, she saw a side of Louis she didn't recognize, calculating, manipulative, and secretive. She realized something terrifying. Joe might have been right all along. Joe returns to Jersey. 2 days later, it was official. Joe Giudice's petition to temporarily return to the U.S. had been approved. When his plane landed at Newark Airport, dozens of paparazzi swarmed, cameras flashing, reporters shouting, "Joe, are you back to win Teresa? Is Louis ready for a showdown? Will Bravo film the reunion?" Joe smirked but stayed silent, walking confidently through the chaos. He had one mission: face Teresa and expose the truth. Hours later, Teresa stood in her kitchen, shaking as she heard the sound of tires on gravel. When the doorbell rang, she froze. It wasn't Bravo cameras, it wasn't Louis, it was Joe. "Tree, I had to see you," he said softly, his voice breaking. Teresa let Joe inside, her heart pounding in her chest. But before she could speak, the front door flew open. Louis had arrived early. Within seconds, the room turned into chaos. "What the hell are you doing here?" Louis shouted, stepping between Joe and Teresa. Joe squared his shoulders, his voice sharp but controlled. "I'm here for my family, Louis, and I'm not leaving until Teresa hears the truth." Louis lunged forward, his fists clenched, but Teresa screamed, "Stop it, both of you." Her voice cracked, the sound carrying years of pain, betrayal, and exhaustion. The silence that followed was deafening. Finally, Teresa turned to Joe. "Say what you came to say, but after tonight, I'm done being dragged into this circus." Joe handed her the folder, the same one from the Bahamas. This time, she opened it, and what she found inside shattered everything she thought she knew about Louis, Joe, and Bravo. The hidden contract. Inside the folder was a signed contract between Louis and Bravo executives. The terms: Louis had agreed to stage marital drama on camera, leaks, fights, therapy sessions, and fake reconciliations, all for an extra $400,000 a bonus per season. Teresa's hands shook as she flipped through the pages, her tears falling on the ink. You sold our lives?" she whispered, staring at Louis in disbelief. Louis didn't deny it. "I did it for us, Teresa, for our future." But Teresa saw through him now. Louis wasn't protecting her, he was profiting off her pain. Joe stepped closer, his voice soft. "I told you, Tree, none of them have your back. Not Bravo, not Louis, only I do." Teresa's breakdown. That night, Teresa locked herself in her room, ignoring Louis's knocks and Joe's pleas from the hallway. She replayed every moment, from her first meeting with Joe in high school to the Bravo debut that changed their lives, to the night Louis proposed under fiery lights. For the first time, she wondered, who was Teresa Giudice without Bravo, without the cameras, without the drama? The women in the mirror didn't have the answers, but she knew one thing: she was done being manipulated. The reunion taping from hell. 3 weeks later, Bravo began filming the RHONJ reunion special. The tension backstage was suffocating. Teresa, Joe Giudice, Louis, Joe Gorga, and Melissa all sat in separate dressing rooms, refusing to speak. When Andy Cohen walked onto the stage, he looked nervous, and for good reason. The taping exploded into screaming matches, shocking accusations, and unexpected alliances. But the moment that broke the internet came when Teresa stood up, tears streaming down her face, and yelled, "Bravo used my family. Louis used me."
And I'm done." Then she ripped off her microphone and walked off the stage. For the first time in RHONJ history, a Giudice reunion ended without resolution. To be continued. Hours later, as cameras rolled outside the studio, Joe found Teresa sitting alone on the curb, staring at the city lights. He sat next to her, silent at first. Then, softly, he said, "Tree, I'm not asking for the past. I just want us to start over. No Bravo, no lies, just us." Teresa turned to him, her eyes red but steady. "I don't know what I want, Joe. But I know what I don't want. I don't want to be their puppet anymore." And just like that, a new chapter of Teresa's life began. One without Bravo's control, without Louis' manipulation, but maybe, just maybe, with Joe Giudice back in it.
Thanks for watching the video. Please subscribe to our channel for regular updates.